Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 20th of July, comes to you from London. Markets really selling off. That's the main headline news this morning. But when you put it in perspective, all right, we have dived below the cloud on the S&P 500, but we've done that quite a few times. We did that back in June. We certainly did it to this level in May. And if you keep going back, this is really a sort of bi-monthly occurrence. We did it again in March. End of February, we had quite a big sell-off. So there's nothing really, it makes good news, but there's nothing really that's dramatically changed other than the short-term picture. The long-term picture is still one of an uptrend, and the medium-term picture is still above the cloud as well. This is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute chart, and the corresponding point and figure targets. And we don't yet have medium-term downside targets. We have on the 60-minute chart gone lower, but for the moment we are holding our own. Looking at the dollar index, we are edging higher there all the time, waiting for this higher high, but the dollar's looking stronger. Euro therefore looking weaker, 117.89 this morning, still below the cloud and just sinking lower. So that fall and then the fall away is the inverse picture of what we're seeing on the dollar, so that's quite key. The yen is normally a risk on trade, but the dollar is actually holding quite strongly against that, and sterling falling right back to 136.57 against the euro, just around the 116 level. So sterling actually falling away. Probably the big news is Bitcoin is falling below that $30,000 mark, and so that's quite interesting for the cloud on Bitcoin. So we're seeing here that the upside target, if we close at this level today, that upside target to $107,000 is gone. So Bitcoin below 30,000 is quite significant. So we just need to wait and see how that plays out today. Looking at the S&P 500 index, where we were down, as we mentioned, 1.5%. So we did see a sell-off there. The Nasdaq sell-off as well, but we are looking at a bounce this, according to the futures today, up 0.4% on the S&P. And up 0.4% on the Nasdaq, so that's quite key. And the VIX volatility jumped yesterday, but has fallen right back today. So we went as high as 25. The fear index really spiked, probably the highest level we've seen in a couple of months. But we are falling back now, so not quite that dramatic. And we're seeing the FTSE future up 1%. The DAX in Germany up 1%. Asia didn't really benefit much from this. We saw Tokyo down 1%, and the Hang Seng down by almost as much as well. So Asia still sold off, but the US futures hadn't really kicked in by then, so we're seeing Europe benefiting on that. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. Soft commodities still continue to rise. We've got coffee up 2.5%. We've got sugar up 1.7%, wheat up 2.3%. So soft's really gaining at the moment, and we see here on coffee. Corn also nudging higher, although it has fallen below the cloud. Gold sitting at 18.12, so fairly static given what we've been seeing in the markets. Not enough to really push it back to short-term bullish. Silver at 25.08, again not enough really for short-term bullish. And platinum actually up slightly, and palladium up 0.5%. So a mixed picture for precious metals. Looking at copper, we're up a further 1% there, so edging higher. That long-term trend for copper still looking pretty strong. 10-year yields sitting at 1.22%. We did go below 1.2% yesterday, so that's a new multi-month low. We haven't seen levels since February, so significant there, but holding the long-term trend. But medium and short-term, we have seen a sell-off there, so that's quite significant. Looking at the energy mix now, Brent crude had a very big down day yesterday. We've been bearish crude oil this week, so that's playing out. We do have further downside targets. The medium-term target met here. There's my daily, my 60-minute, my daily, my 60-minute, my 1-minute chart. So we're seeing here that we're lower as well. Taking a look at some of the other products. US nat gas, we're actually bullish this week, and that's holding. So that's looking good in a market where everything else is selling. Emissions, we were neutral. And really at the moment it's still too hard to call. We did sell off yesterday, but we are holding that 52 level, which is quite key, and possibly finding some support here on the cloud. The long-term target's still up. We do have one downside target, so I'm waiting for that picture to improve. Gas markets were looking strong yesterday with a breakout, but we've pulled back this morning back into the pattern. But we are still looking pretty bullish there, and that was MBP. This is TTF. And looking at German power, we're seeing German power actually looking still holding the long-term trend, but we are in this range bound, and again we were neutral this week. We do have a new downside target on the daily chart, some 11% lower. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.